one of the most frustrating aspects for non-designers to go through in this sort of design development process is generating new ideas. And part of that is because their whole orientation is to the solution. Must find solution, must find it quickly, must find it efficiently. Part of that also assumes that there's only one right answer, or that there's a best answer. And rightly so, students as well as business people want to get there as fast as possible. They don't want to waste time and waste money. Unfortunately, that's all sort of counterintuitive and actually counterproductive, because in the design process, if you truly want to create innovative solutions that haven't been seen before, that are different than those other ones on the market, you have to sit back and say, there's obviously more than one solution, right? Because I'm trying to come up with a different solution than what everyone else has. There's not one best solution, because I'm serving a certain customer set in a way that, you know, is appropriate for them, but it's not going to work for other people necessarily, which also seems horribly inefficient to most business people. And so that sets a context that's really daunting to people. And so that creates sort of a conceptual drag on their ability to generate new ideas. The other issue is that in concept generation, it seems so frivolous, because you're sitting around a room brainstorming crazy solutions. And they are crazy solutions, and they're ridiculous solutions. And what you learn over time is that out of ridiculousness come the germ of ideas that are really important. So you may throw out something that you think is ridiculous, and you know other people are going to think is ridiculous. And so you're actually embarrassed to even say it. And yet, because we all have different perspectives on things and completely different histories, but that creates a different idea for them, right? Well, what if they took it, you know, what if it was a sucker that they put in their mouth, right? Or like a lollipop, a coffee lollipop. So all these ideas seem really stupid until through the process you winnow down the ridiculous ones, but you have the germs of important ones that nobody's ever seen before. So brainstorming is an important way of doing that. Using metaphors, for instance. So this is, you know, it's famous in Hollywood for, you know, it's like this movie and this movie together. And of course, they're two movies that shouldn't ever be put together. So, you know, Pretty Woman and Star Wars. Well, that's the use of metaphors to communicate an idea. That's simply another way. And again, it sounds ridiculous at first, but when it hits someone else's brain, it reconfigures in a new way. And then when they throw it back, it reconfigures to you in a different way. And through that process, you know, maybe 10% of the ridiculous ideas actually turn into good opportunities. The secret about concept generation is that you don't get anywhere unless you have those 90% bad ideas. And that's exactly what most business people try to avoid. You know, who would use a process that 90% of what you generate is just trash, let alone the fact that it just looks like you're having too much fun to be serious about business. Yet we don't have any other better way of getting those 10% great ideas that nobody's heard of that create incredible opportunity. So the biggest drag here is fear of embarrassment, fear of lack of efficiency, but we don't know any other way to get there. One of the tricks here is, now that you have these sort of 10% of good ideas, figuring out which ones have promise. And I think there's two aspects to this, and it all comes back to the quantitative and the qualitative. There are quantitative techniques that people use to evaluate concepts in order to select the best ones that meet the requirements in again, a quantitative way. And they often come down to identifying features or identifying benefits and values, and then scoring them and ranking them and which ones have the highest score. It's all very rational, and different, you know, different people are comfortable with it or use these systems. There's a reality, however, about intuition and qualitative. You know, it's funny because a lot of business is about denying the fact that we're kind of human, intuitive people anyway, and we develop all these complex systems to account for things and value things, et cetera. And then you go into the boardroom, and very often it's just discounted for someone's intuition. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're not. And the same thing happens here. It happens, I think, designers and design processes, I think they're more comfortable saying it's their intuition that's really driving the decision here, rather than sort of creating a big show about numbers and proof, et cetera, and then either discounting it or not, or carefully constructing the numbers to support what they intuitively think is the direction they want to go. The reality here, again, is that we need both of these techniques. We need the quantitative, we need the qualitative. But a lot of times the reality is it just comes down to someone likes these 3 ideas of the 15 that are generated, of the 150 that were generated originally. These 3 just have promise in ways that we can't necessarily articulate or express, and so they're chosen. I think in larger companies, you can start down that path and really quickly do the kind of development to figure out if they really do have promise, and if they don't, you go back to the other ones you didn't choose, and you have a little bit of luxury of resources and time to do that a couple times. In startups, you don't have that luxury, and it really is intuition. Partly the reason why 90% of all startups fail is because it's all intuition, and there's no check against what we learn from customers and what they valued and what the benefits are, et cetera. So it's really a mix of both of these. And just like good market insight, you're constantly moving back and forth between the quantitative and the qualitative, and they should be informing each other. It's not an either or, it's this and that and that and this, and that leads you to a better focused solution. But we can't deny that we fall in love with certain things, and we can't always quantify what it is about that, in the same way we can't quantify relationships.